All right, today we're diving into a story that's got everything: public money, a state owned company, and a deal that raises some really serious questions. We're going to break down the Namcor Enercon scandal using Dr. Rauna Shipena's book, The $53 million Question, as our guide. So, at the very heart of this whole thing is one simple but massive question. It's the kind of question you hear everywhere after years of corruption scandals. Where did all that money go? And probably more importantly, why should it matter to you? Here it is, 53.2 million Namibian dollars. Just take a second and look at that number. Before we get into any of the details, just let that figure sink in. Because as we're about to see, this isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. It represents lost trust and a whole lot of missed opportunities. Okay, so to really understand what went down, we need to open up the case file. It all kicks off with this deal between a state-owned enterprise and a private company. Let's just lay out the basic facts. So, the main players are Namcor, right, the national oil company, and Enercon, a private operator. The deal was that Namcor paid that $53.2 million for what they called service station assets. Now, these weren't just any old gas stations. They were located on military bases, which, adds a whole other layer of complication here. And the payment was made back in July of 2022. So on the surface, it seems kind of straightforward, right? But believe me, the devil is absolutely in the details. And this, right here, is the absolute key to the entire story. The one little detail that really unlocks the whole scandal is a legal distinction. It sounds small, but it's huge. It's the difference between actually owning something and just having the right to use it. This explains it perfectly. Think of it like a house, okay? Ownership is when you buy the house. You pay the full price, you get the deed, it's yours. Simple. Usage rights, that's like renting the house. You pay to live there for a while, but it's never going to be yours, and what you can do is limited by a contract. The big allegation here is that Namcor basically paid the full price to buy the house, but all they got was a short-term rental agreement. And check out this quote from the court case. It just cuts right to the chase. The prosecutors literally argued that Namcor was sold a dream. The company paid top dollar, a premium price, as if they were getting full ownership of these stations, when what they actually got was just limited, restricted rights to use them. Now, a deal this big and this questionable doesn't just happen in a vacuum. The $53 million question isn't just about one bad transaction. It's really a reflection of much deeper systemic problems in how public institutions are run. So you gotta ask, how could this even happen in the first place? Well, this case shows a pattern that's become, frankly, painfully familiar in Namibia. Dr. Shipena's book calls it the cycle of scandal, and it goes like this. A story breaks, it's all over the headlines, maybe an inquiry gets launched, and then, often, just silence. The whole cycle just repeats itself without any real change, which makes this particular case so important. These are the specific holes in the system that let this deal slip through. The way the assets were valued was questionable, to say the least. The whole process was murky, giving executives way too much power without proper checks and balances from the board. And a culture of secrecy meant that by the time you or I found out, the money was long gone. It was just a total failure of oversight, from top to bottom. I know, this can all seem like some high-level corporate drama, but trust me, it has real, actual consequences for every single person. Let's connect the dots from that boardroom right down to your daily life. Here's the most important point. That $53.2 million isn't just an abstract number that vanished from a company's bank account. In a country with limited resources, that money is what we call an opportunity cost. It's what we lost the chance to do. A choice was made, and it meant that other, critical public needs didn't get funded. I mean, just think about it for a second. That exact same amount of money could have built and staffed new health clinics in rural areas. It could have upgraded schools, giving thousands of kids a better shot at the future. It could have been invested in vital water infrastructure, or maybe pushed the country forward with green energy projects. That is the real price of this scandal. Not just the missing money, but the missing progress. But look, Dr. Shipena's book doesn't just point out the problems. It actually offers solutions. It lays out a really clear blueprint for change, showing how this scandal could actually become a trigger for real, meaningful reform. So the book outlines 4 key steps for reform. First, demand total transparency with forensic audits where the public actually gets to see the results. Second, ensure accountability with a truly independent inquiry.
Third, tighten the leash by reforming how state-owned enterprises approve these huge deals. Maybe require the Treasury to sign off. And finally, build back trust by creating digital portals where major public contracts are published for everyone to see in real time.
And what's really important here is that these aren't just pie-in-the-sky ideas. These are practical, doable measures. They're based on well-established international standards for good governance, things like the King IV Report and the OECD guidelines. The roadmap is there. What's needed now is the political will to actually follow it.
So, in the end, we're at a crossroads. As the book puts it, this whole case can really go one of two ways. It can just become another sad story that deepens public cynicism and distrust, or it can be the moment that finally sparks genuine renewal and reform. That choice really belongs to Namibia's leaders and to its people.
And making that choice starts with being informed. So if you want to dive deeper into all the evidence and explore the full plan for reform, we highly recommend getting Dr. Rauna Shipena's book, The $53 Million Question. You can find it and get more info at restore.com. Thanks so much for tuning in.